morning, everybody. So we're here at the April 2020 meeting of the Waitakere Licensing Trust. Welcome, everybody. And I just want to start with apologies. Are there any apologies? No, everybody is present. The minutes of the public meeting, that is 25th of February. I'll move there a true and correct record. Is anybody willing to second?
I'll second that, Brooke.
Brooke, thank you. All those in favour? Aye. You can put your hand up or yell. I can see.
Aye.
Anyone against? No. Right, thank you. Matters arising that aren't in this agenda? No indication? All right. Register of members' interests. Has anybody had any changes to the interests on page, where are we? Sorry. Interest, any changes?
I'd like to add Terry Moana Primary School. My child goes there.
Okay, we've got that. Thank you very much. Anyone else? No. Moving on from that. There's nil correspondence. And our monthly report from our acting CEOs, Marie Weaver and Matt Williams.
Sorry, Linda, I had my thing on mute before for the register of interests.
Oh, sorry, we'll add that back in.
I was just going to ask Andrew, there's no mention of his affiliation with WALTAG, and I thought that should be actually there.
Yeah, interesting comment there, Warren. I also note that Brooke's Labour affiliation isn't noted in the conflict of interest. So I'm just wondering why, what the motivation is behind, or why would I have to allocate my affiliation to WALTAG if Brooke isn't allocating to Labour?
Yeah, okay, let's not talk about other people, but I think where we're going to land with that is that the Auditor General says that it's up to you to put in on your, and it's not a conflict of interest register, it's only a conflict when it is.
Yeah.
It's an interest register, and most people put everything down that they're affiliated with. However, if people choose not to, that's not okay. It is okay at the end of the day. However, it's up, everybody will, you know, will have a perception whatever people are involved with. I guess that's where we have to leave that, because valid point, but I think that's where we should leave it now. Everybody knows pretty much what everyone's doing anyway, but it's just really for the public. This is an interest register for the public, not for us in actual fact.
Linda, it may be helpful to just get Satara to comment on
right.
how that should be understood and interpreted.
Thank you. Sorry.
I think, Linda, you caught it exactly on point. It is an interest register, and that is where you look to in order to determine if there is a conflict on any particular issues. So the idea is to be transparent with the interests, because the Auditor General takes a very close look at those sorts of things. So it really, transparency is the reason why you have the interest register. So so far as possible, if you can record what the interest is, you should do so.
All right, then can I please add mine? I'm a member of the National Party. Thank you. Right. Anybody else? Oh, you're
I'd like to proudly add that I'm a member of the Labour Party.
Thank you, bro.
And then also, obviously, I've got an association with WALTAG, which is pretty obvious anyway. But yeah.
Yeah, but that's great, because we just need, you know, we get called about transparency, so let's do that.
Fully understand. As long as we're all abiding by the same precedent, more than happy.
We are. So that's good. We've had a flush out, and we're all in there now. So very good.
So I just need to add that I'm a member of the Green Party.
Thank you. So we've got that. Our company secretary has that.
That's representation, and we've got a couple of independents too, right?
Isn't that great? We have a very broad church on our board. We are not old white
churches. Do we have to go down churches?
No. But you know, I think what we're showing here is that the public elects a broad representation of what we are in West Auckland, which is a broad representation of all sorts of people. So that's really great.
Can I add
So-
that I'm a member of the Marijuana Party, or does that not matter?
Only if you really are a paid up member. And just remember, we're being recorded.
As long as you're not
Member
having
flaunting. And also that we've got a sense of humour, so isn't that good? All right, so we'll go back to our monthly report from our acting CEOs, and I must just echo, and I think all of us have felt this during this really difficult time, that the two of you were acting CEOs and never thought, you thought, we'll do this until our new CEO comes, and you have actually, worked so admirably above and beyond any hours or expectation we would ever had of you, and you've exceeded our expectations, and thank you very much. So I hand over to you too, and just I think that pretty much it can be taken as read, but I think if there's any additional comments from our CEOs or any questions.
No, I haven't got any additional comments to make. It's a very full and complete report in there.
Perhaps just to like to echo what Matt said and is put into the report around the team, and I think I think the way that the whole team out in the trust has pulled together, the hospo, the retail, support office, everyone, the leadership team, and then out to yourselves as well, has been exceptional in the fact that and it just absolutely demonstrates the culture that we have in the organisation, that Matt's people and culture team has been working on really hard for the last couple of years. And if we had been in the position we were a couple of years, this would have been a completely different story. So I don't think that we can you can underestimate the impact of that work and the sort of the investment and time that's taken on those things. So because Matt's views, particularly around that how the teams are working together, how encouraged they are, is fantastic, and I do actually encourage each and every one of you, if you are able to go and visit one of our stores and see those guys in action, because the way that we've set up their operating model, and it will give you great comfort. We were all very, very concerned about our team's safety and health at the beginning of this, so much so that we were doing everything we could to try and stop any contact. As you could see, sometimes that was good, and sometimes it wasn't so good. It didn't work out. But we have, and as Matt mentioned, we are ahead of everybody that we have seen in the way that we operate in those stores. And I feel really comfortable going into the stores. I feel comfortable knowing that our teams are going in there and they are actually safe. So, like I said, I do go in there. You'll find a bunch of people running around doing stuff and really having fun and actually enjoying being part of a team that they've been thrown together, don't know each other. Hospo people not knowing how to, one end of the retail store to the other, but it's a really, really great cultural experience, and it'd be one of those things that you'd never be able to do if you had to do it as a team building exercise. But boy, it's a really good one. So I really just wanted to point that out, because we talk about our people being really important, and I know that Matt and his team have worked extremely hard to get all of those, pull that engagement up, keep the retention up, and getting people in that right frame of mind. And it's worked, and it's reflective in these 4 or 5 weeks. It's been huge. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that, because and like I say, please go and visit a store and have a look for yourselves.
I might just a very, very quick build, and I think as a leadership team, we've worked very closely over the past 5 weeks. We've pretty much met daily, and it includes the weekends as well. And without having wanted to call out anybody specifically, just a note around our GM of retail, Aaron Walding, who I think he started in the job maybe a week before COVID-19 hit. So he's obviously been with the business for a period of time, but jeepers, he had a hard landing, but he's really excelled, and as has everybody on the leadership team. And the suggestions and the innovations have come from everywhere, and it's been really neat to be part of. So yeah, thank you.
Mark had a question first, or comment.
I have two. The first one is in a lot of the documents we talk about Lupton and Agile, and I just wondered whether you wanted to talk a little bit about what that meant in this context.
Yeah, look, we're really lucky. We selected Lupton's, I think it would be 6 years ago, to be our third-party logistics provider, and I think it's not agile in the buzzword sense of it. They're agile in the fact that they are bending over backwards to do anything they can do to help. So they are distributing product, they're getting in there early, they're getting their teams in. They've been very, very careful around their health and safety protocol as well. I mean, they know that if they have their team wiped out, if there's any infection, they will be pretty much kind of out of business for that time, because so they've done split shifts, they've got isolated teams, they've talked us through the best way that we can work in our orders and whatnot. But they are absolutely, they're stars when it comes to these things. But they're also like that when we have Christmas, when we have Easter. They work weekends, they put extra people on. We are a big part of their business, but we can ask them anything. Can we deliver you hand sanitizer and you distribute it to the stores? Yeah, sure. It's that sort of thing. We can get all our collateral out to you, and we distribute it to the stores. Yeah, sure. And they're out there at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning doing the deliveries, and they're unloading them, and then our guys are getting them out of there. So I think it's one of the things we would have to say through this and through other times that we've had in these 6 years, that Lupton's was the absolute right choice, from the fact that they're a little bit smaller, but they absolutely care about us. And when we ask them to do something, they will do their darndest to make sure it happens. So, and they're very, very responsive to all of our retail managers as well. So, but like I say, on the other side of it, they're also very, just because they're a little bit smaller and maybe not such a big structured organisation, that they are very, very right up there in their health and safety and their measures and how they operate. So, yeah, just we're very lucky to have them on board right now.
And I just think that they're a West business, and I think that at this time, looking after our West businesses, looking after our own, buying local, is going to be critical going forward. I know I've heard some other people commentating they don't think that the landing is going to be as hard. I must admit I'm a little more pessimistic, and I have seen some stats today with regards to employment stats, and our West people are going to be hurting. And I just, first of all, I'd like to commend the decision that was made to continue paying. I work for an organisation, and it was hard to make that call, but it was absolutely the right call, and I commend that the Licensing Trust has done the same for looking after our West people and our local people. I absolutely acknowledge the huge amounts of work that's gone on. I've listened to stories from a wide variety of organisations, and I know the stresses and strains both at the senior management level, but right the way through the organisation as people cope personally and as an organisation to the way of operating it, the fear for our most vulnerable people, as well as concerns for others. I have to note, though, that there are people who don't understand and have been really highly critical of the Licensing Trust operation, and also their perceived sense that the Licensing Trust has not responded as our social enterprise to the level they would anticipate. So I have spoken to a couple of people and talked them through it, and one of the interesting things was that they hadn't really thought through the implications of, if you're a staff person, about, as an organisation wanting to look after them and giving them the opportunity to say, look, if you feel unsafe, if you feel vulnerable for health purposes, your family, your bubble, whatever, then absolutely we understand. And I don't think the wider people who aren't necessarily involved in these activities understand it. So my question is around, what communications do you think we need to do to be able to tell the story? As you say, we were in advance of having to deal with some of these issues that businesses only now are facing, but that people don't quite understand that when you are a socially orientated business and you put your people first, that actually this means sometimes the customer can't always get what they would like in the way they would like it when they would like it. We do the best we can, but we don't. What's the kind of comms you think that we need to be doing?
Yeah, I think it's a good question, and it's probably one we've been talking about over the past couple of weeks, to be honest, in terms of how we front foot that a little bit more. I think part of the discussions with regards to our giving back and what we can do at this time, I think is part of that. I appreciate you've obviously had conversations with a bunch of people who have been critical of us. I think that those people who are critical are often, they're the squeaky wheel, which quite often gets the oil. If you come into stores, we've got a very wide and large number of customers who are supportive of us as well and appreciate the things that we have been doing. I think it's very, I started off by saying very early on in terms of the situation which New Zealand and the world was faced with at that time, and I think people have very quickly lost sight of the potential harm, albeit New Zealand's done a very good job of it. So, I'm certainly not saying a sense of entitlement by any stretch, but these were very extreme and uncertain times. And we were essentially trying to provide an essential service to people, albeit limited range and limited trading hours. I think as we and some of our messaging, I think from a PR and comms point of view was very much around trying to get those core messages out to people to inform them about how they can shop with us and safe ways to shop with us. I think where we've got the opportunity now is to lean in a little bit harder in terms of I suppose the good that the trusts have been doing in the community, and which we hope to be doing in the not too distant future. And obviously the Giving Back workshop and the paper included in your board pack today details some of that as well. But, yeah. Maria,
I comment with just
yeah.
briefly. I endorse what Matt has said, Mark, and it's a good issue you've raised. And as recently as this morning, I was discussing with Matt and Marie the desirability of us telling our story better, because we have plenty of good news stories relating to the trusts and the work we do and the benefit we bring to the community. So we're going to start working on that.
Who else? Any questions, comments? Pop your hand up. Nobody. All right. So is someone happy to move the receipt of the monthly report? The hand. Mark, a seconder, and Warren. Thank you. All those in favour? Aye. Contrary? No hands. Good. Carried. Now, public forum. So given we have a different type of meeting this month, when the meeting notice went out, people were asked to send questions. There were no questions by the due date. However, I understand that Andrew sent out some extra somethings on Facebook. Anyway, we received 18 emails, some just comments, some questions, some not positive, some negative, some neutral. So as you've all received those with the, actually, did that go on this Board Pro? It is. So it's on the Board Pro, so it's all there. It will go in the minutes of the meeting, and each person will be emailed the response. And so because there's nobody here to ask questions, we'll just receive the public input. But I just wanted to make one comment on the one for JB Mills in terms of the response. Because in general, the people ask things like, why didn't you sell spirits? We know that that was done as a health and safety issue and working with the police to reduce outside people moving in the level 4 to help with that level 4 conditions. Others were things like, why do we have a licensing trust? Well, all that information is on our website. There's a whole lot of questions like that. And so just Linda,
sorry. I'd appreciate an opportunity to answer and come back to some of these questions, because I think there's actually some very interesting questions there that I'd like an opportunity to
but I'm
respond
sorry, no, hang on a minute. No, because what we do, I want to follow the same forum as we do at public forum that's in our standing orders. And that is, people come, they ask their questions, and then we get questions back to them, because we've got 18 different emails here, and there's no way we can do that in a half an hour.
So I'm not allowed to respond to the questions as a
No,
trustee?
we don't need to, because we can't respond to the individuals in this forum. But what we will do, we will respond to the individuals by email, because we have their email now, and so that's what we're going to. That's what we're going to do. But
who'll be composing those responses, Linda?
Yeah, that was my question.
Well, they are there, but what I'm just saying to you is, I'm just going. If you just let me finish, what I want to do. Hang on, you don't need to make faces, Andrew. I can see it.
I didn't interrupt you, Linda.
No, I know you didn't, but it's just the body language, and it's not very pleasant. Just what I'm saying is, we've got some responses here. Mm-hmm. Now, if anybody thinks that any of these responses are incorrect, because we've got to give factual responses, please let us know now or after. But I'm happy to respond directly to a particular one, but I think we can't make a general response to all of them in this realm, because that's not what we do at a public forum. So I've got one, and it's JB Mills. They ask about why can't we do owner operator, and I just want a legal opinion in there. My understanding is we cannot, the liquor licenses can only come to us in the liquor licensing in our WLT area. So I'd just like on that one a little bit of response to why we can't do that, not just that we're work hard and are very proud, because that's responding to part of it, not the other. So let me finish my speak, and then I'm going to go to you. So that's the one I'm saying. Now, have you got any particular one that you would like a different response, Andrew?
Well, there's not a different response, Linda. There are no responses. I can't see any responses. All I can see is the questions that have come in, so I don't know what responses you're referring to.
That's
right. Is that true?
We've got some proposed ones from today that we've been working through.
Oh, sorry. My mistake then. My mistake. Sorry, I printed.
We have not seen those.
Sorry.
Oh, we haven't seen any possible.
Right. So I'm sorry. I apologise.
We've only got the questions.
Yeah. So there are some responses, and so Marie, do we want to after this? Oh, Matt, did you have a response?
So just come back to me for a second. Sorry, Linda. I was just you did come to me, so I just like.
Yeah, sure.
Obviously, you're not permitting me to reply to the questions, but I just wanted to say that there's been a particularly good one there saying about how the public can give feedback and interact with the board. So I just thought that this is a fantastic opportunity, and I actually commend the board for the work that they've done in going onto the website and encouraging the public to submit these questions. I think that's fantastic, and it aids transparency just boundlessly. So I'd really appreciate the opportunity to answer these questions moving forward.
Okay, so we will be answering them, but we're not going to answer each one in this format, because even if you had public forum, in our standing orders we have half an hour. We couldn't answer 18 questions like this fulsomely in the half an hour. And in our standing orders, it actually asks people to, if they ask the questions at the meeting, or they can send written questions to us, and we respond to them. So we're just going to use the same process, because it just time-wise it doesn't work.
Fine.
And
I'll compose my responses, and I'll submit them for the approval as well. So I'd like my opportunity, because I'd like my views to be heard. I'd like my responses to be heard, and I believe that's.
I get that, but what we want to respond to is actual responses rather than opinion, because these people are asking questions about the business and why, especially legal things are the way they are. So we just have to be careful of that. And also, we need to respond as a board rather than even individuals,
but
because we can't do that.
Isn't it important for transparency that the board's our views and opinions are heard by the community? To me, that's incredibly important. I want the community to understand my values and my beliefs, and I would like to answer some of these questions.
So I've got that. Penny?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. There are, I'll just read the questions, and there are some of them where the answer is simply black and white. You know, why have we not been asked again? Well, because there hasn't been a poll. Why have you not been selling spirits? Because, you know, some of these, or most of these, there's a very simple operational answer for them. And I think that's what needs to come from the board, from the organisation. However, other people have individual takes on these. I don't feel the need to go back to these people individually, but as board members, I'm, you know, no one's going to stop a board member saying, well, there hasn't been a competition poll because, you know, people haven't been able to get the numbers for the last 15 years or whatever. You know, there's opinion that can go back. People are entitled to their own opinion, but I think they're not really entitled to their own facts, and there are only factual answers to these. The thing I agree with Andrew on is there's one useful thing in here, which is perhaps how could we, what suggestions can people put in about how things could be run better. And I think there should be a sort of a catch-all basket for what could we do better. And I think that's a really honest thing that we should be interested in as a board. But I don't think, you know, as a board member, I'm not particularly moved to answer some of the operational questions. So
Yeah.
what am I saying? Number one, I think there's a straight out operational answer to most of these. Number two, some of them may have a political spin, and there's nothing to stop individual board members answering these people. It's a democracy. And number three, if there is a way to say all good ideas gratefully received, let's do that.
I agree. I think the thing is that people have their opinion, and that's fine, but people have asked us questions about what we do operationally, and that isn't opinion based. So I think that what we'll do is we will have a look at these, we'll circulate these to you for to make sure the responses, and to be quite honest, there shouldn't be opinions in these responses. There should just be the operational answer. And then I want to ask Satare, is it appropriate if people got this, it hasn't got emails on it, has it? Oh, some of them have had the early ones, they've got people's emails on them. What would be the legal position for individual members emailing those people? Is that appropriate or not, or legal, or is that a privacy thing?
Those people have raised the question to the board, and ideally there would be a central point that would go back to them from our info at trusts that would respond, not individual members going back to those individual people.
So does that mean that we are not entitled to, or it's not appropriate to go take these people's emails and then go and individually send responses to them?
It's not recommended, because the question isn't to you as individual trustees. The question is to you as a group of elected members representing WLT. So it is WLT as a whole going back with a response of the board. And if there are diverging responses, then the person who has a divergent view can have that point recorded, and the person requesting the information can get in touch with whoever the divergent view may be represented from. So if I have a different view to you, Linda, I would say we would record that Satara has a different view to the above. If you would like to discuss that with them, please feel free to contact them directly.
So if they're So if there are operational responses, there isn't really a different view if they're legal black and white, though. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right. So we really need to formulate an operational response, and we just need to be seeing that before it goes out. Just mindful that normal processes is that we get a response back from the trusts to public forum meetings if they can't be answered at the meeting anyway, if they're only very short. So I think that's very clear. So what I want to do though is receive all of these, because we need to acknowledge that we've received these 18 emails communicating with us, and that we will, okay, and is that you moving that, Andrew? Or?
Yeah, to receive them, yeah.
Yeah, all right, moved and seconded.
Well, I'll second
Penny.
it.
Oh, sorry.
Can
Go
I
on, Warren.
just make a brief comment?
Sure.
the problem with replying to these emails is that you're just going to get a whole pile of emails back again. So can we put a no reply type in there so people know that they can't reply to that? Or how do you go about that? Because I can just see this just becoming an absolute nightmare for a lot of staff and ourselves.
But shouldn't we be doing that as a community-based organisation? Shouldn't we be listening to the community?
Yeah, well, we can, Andrew. Shut them down? Yeah, we can, Andrew, because people can email info@the-trust anytime. But what I think what Warren's saying is we don't want to enter into a long string on something where we have staff tied up in doing that. So people can always email again. He never stopped from emailing.
There's a lot of questions here that aren't operationally based. There's a lot of questions here that are perception based as well that I believe that the board should be paying attention to. And I think that's one of the biggest issues for us is the perception that the public have, rightly or wrongly, that we're not listening to them and we're not taking on board the feedback, as is one of the comments and one of the questions.
And I guess, Andrew, this is the point. If we respond, thanks, Mark, I've got you there. If we respond to them, we've heard them and we will be responding to them. So we are listening and we will respond. But it's not Facebook where it's a long string, because that's just not appropriate.
As long
but anyway, I've got someone.
As long as we all agree with the responses. That's the thing. As long as we all agree with the responses.
Yeah, though, just remember, we can't do response by committee. We need to get the proper operational response. If we have a different opinion about whether we should exist or not, that's a whole different story. So, Mark, you had a question or comment?
So my first one is a request. The layout is really hard to figure out when one finishes and one begins. So we could maybe have it with table border lines. That would really help to understand the layout of who's saying what. The second thing is, my understanding is by putting it into a public forum, the person has agreed to their information being made public. And so I just think that we need to be really clear about how we use that and what is made available to the public and what is not. If it came through our contact, did the person know that their stuff was going to go onto an agenda? And I just think we just want to give, I really applaud it. I think it's really good. And I love it that we did it, especially in this really interesting world going digital. But let's just make sure we're nice and clear about that. The people knew that we're going to publish their contact details, because I'd hate it that they suddenly got solicited for other things.
Yeah, I guess it's public forum. So, but some people don't understand that because they think it's like Facebook. So I
just
think
need a privacy policy on that one potentially.
Yeah, in the draft.
Yeah, I think it just needs to be nice and clear.
In the draft answers, it's in a proper spreadsheet with lines around it and nobody's email, just their name. But we'll ask Satare what.
Just the last.
Yep, sure. Oh, you're frozen, Mark.
Just the last one was, I think they're really good questions, and so therefore, I look forward to us making the responses, publicly available, so people can get the information, because these are very similar to the queries that I had and had to talk the person through on the phone. So they're great. I look forward to seeing the responses and getting them out there to people.
Anybody else? Yeah, and I think you're right, Mark. Oh, sorry, Brooke.
I just wanted to briefly say that I support efforts to make it easier for the public to connect with us and express their anything that they'd like to, whether it's a question or a way to improve things and everything. So applaud the making this available, and hopefully we can continue this kind of way to open a bit more engagement with our community.
Right.
And just further on from that as well, good point, Brooke. And I'd just like to add that I think the question, the actual opportunity there wasn't particularly well marketed. I don't believe it went out to the community particularly well, because we didn't get any responses until I actually made that post on Facebook. So maybe the next time when we do have an opportunity like this, which is a fantastic opportunity for the community to have the feedback, maybe we could just market it a little bit more efficiently so people know that it's there, the option is there for them.
Yeah, well, point taken. And just remember, this is the first time we've done this, and just like our response to retail, this is evolving, and I think it'll never be perfect at the beginning, and I think they're starting to get people very tetchy over this last minute. Everybody wants everything instantly and perfectly, but we're in a dynamic situation. Everybody is, and every business and every operation, and I think that given the time spans and everything and the new move to this, I'm really applauding what we do. But absolutely, these answers will go individually, but they'll also be put with the minutes and the responses so anybody can see what the responses are. And it's a very good educative process, actually, because a lot of them are just our frequently asked questions. Lynette.
Oh, I was just actually going to say that could we convert them into questions and put them on the website to be question and answers, because they're the common questions that get asked all the time. So just kind of regurgitate them, use some of the wording, and just, you know, make them simple for people to kind of read and have a point of contact. The other thing that I was really comfortable with would be to speak with one voice. I mean, that's the whole point of a board, isn't it? That you actually do have to come out, speak with one voice. Yes, you can have dissenting opinions, but they can be recorded. But we do need to come out and just have one answer to these questions.
Thank you. And I think you're right in terms of we already have a really good set of frequently asked questions on our website, and that's where we sort of also can probably direct people again in our responses, because that's a really good thing. But this might end up adding a few more. But I'm just mindful at the moment. Any extra work like this, yes, it's very important, but at the moment we're still in level 3. We don't know how long we're going to be there. We don't know how long we're going to be in level 2, level 1. There's a huge amount of work for our acting CEOs, and we'll also be having a new CEO coming in June. So we've just got to be a little bit kind to our staff in that regard. But they have heard us.
Yes, that's what I wanted to comment on, Madam Chair. I don't have any problem whatsoever in disseminating sensible information. If it's company information and needs approval of the Watts board, and what is entitled to be known by shareholding representatives is what shareholding representatives should normally know. And I want to be quite careful in the current environment. We've got a relatively skinny senior management team, and I can speak from experience. I've chaired all sorts of companies over many years, and we run on a highly cost-efficient basis with limited resource, and they do an admirable job. But I do not want them in the middle of a crisis overloaded with political questions or questions from protagonists. Now, I don't mind at all encouraging the dissemination of information to the whole community rather than to specific individuals. And I think your suggestion, if questions come in, the question and the answer, if you choose to answer it, should be posted publicly. But there needs to be some discretion in regard to which questions are answered, because we've got to be careful at the same time. We're not giving away commercial information which undermines the value of the shareholders' own company. And in fact, we've got to be quite discerning, because the responsibility of all of you, as well as all the directors, is to act in the best interests of the company that we're either directors of or the company you own.
Thank you, Brian. And I just, for people who are listening, Brian Corbin is our chairman of our management company, Watts. All right.
I'd just finally like to say that not necessarily always the best interest is the status quo in an organisation. So it's good to have different opinions. It's good to come from different aspects and different directions. And I think that's important as well. So let's not just assume that because other people have got different beliefs that it's not in the best interest of the company. Let's just remember that.
Now,
I'm sure we do remember. Hang on a minute. We do remember that. Hang on a minute, Brian. We do know that, and we're not at all interested in staying at the status quo. Every part of our strategy is about building and creating better value for our business and our ability to give back and the type of business we have. So I think that's the great opportunity of being on the board, Andrew. You'll be able to contribute to that. All right.
My point is that the board of the trust, either of the trust or the company, are not staging posts for other people's political beliefs. They're staging posts to protect and enhance a community asset. That's my point.
Good. Okay, right, we're going to, we've moved, who's moved that? So Andrew moved the receipt of the public booking, seconded. All those in favour, hands up. Yes. Thank you. Is there anybody against? No. Carried. Thank you. So now we go on to general business. Is there any, any general business? All right, so I'm going to move to the public excluded part of the meetings. This ends our open meeting. I'm moving it. Is there a seconder? Got a hand there? Thank you, Lynette. All those in favour, raise your hand. Aye, contrary, carried. Thank you very much.